Hi, everybody. This is Sophia Mona Lisa of the Golden Ray Center and the Roseville Mystery School. And I'd like to welcome you back to this 2023 Path of Love series. Now, when I did the first recording in this series on New Year's Eve to look at what the theme for this year would be, and I never realized at the time that this would evolve into this series. And so I love seeing how creation works through us and evolves through us. And I'm really excited to welcome you today to this Pluto enters Aries video. Today is March 23rd, 2023. Pluto entering Aquarius today is a huge paradigm shift. Pluto hasn't been in Aquarius for 225 years. That is a really super, super big deal. And of course, anytime Pluto moves into a new sign, it is a paradigm shift because Pluto takes about 20 years, a little more, a little less sometimes, but about on average 20 years, 2 decades to move through a sign. So this today is an extremely auspicious day. And this auspicious day has had the pathway opened up for it by just recently the spring equinox that happened only 3 days ago. Now, the spring equinox, of course, heralds moving out of the winter season into the spring season. And in spring, we have all kinds of new growth, new birth that happens as a part of the spring season. And it's marked in the sky by the sun moving into the 0-degree point of Aries. And so with the spring equinox happening on Monday, March 20th, the very next day, Tuesday, March 21st, we had the new moon in Aries. And we always have a new moon when the sun and the moon come together in the sky. And so just on the heels of the equinox, before the sun could even reach that 1-degree point, we had the new moon at a half a degree of Aries. Again, focusing on this energy of birth. And why is that significant for Pluto moving into Aquarius and for paving the way for this Pluto shift into Aquarius? It's because Pluto is very much identified with the death and rebirth process. So this whole idea that we are birthing something new right on the heels of this equinox and new moon in Aries is highly relevant, because it ties into Pluto's energies about what are we getting ready to birth. And so it's a very exciting time to realize that the universe has focused on this consciousness of birthing something new, and that it ties into Pluto's move into Aquarius. So remember, it's been 225 years since Pluto was in Aquarius. And for it to happen within the 3 days of the spring equinox and the new moon in Aries, this is a cosmic dance that is not coincidental. This is a synchronicity that comes together through the infinite intelligence of source. So it's very exciting to see those pieces come together. Now, you know, that birth energy that we associate with Pluto is very much tied into this idea of the phoenix rising from the ashes. And if you've seen any of the Harry Potter movies, you may recall the first time that Harry Potter went into Dumbledore's office and his phoenix burst into flames, and there was a pile of ashes. And then all of a sudden, this little baby phoenix starts to lift its head up out of the ashes. So just wanted to further emphasize how this consciousness of birthing something new is very much related to the spring equinox, the new moon in Aries, and now this Pluto in Aquarius. All of these cosmic events taking place within a 3-day window. It's fascinating to me. Now, as I said, it's been about 225 years since Pluto was in Aquarius. The last time Pluto was in Aquarius was from 1778, and it stayed in Aquarius until 1798. And for those of us that are here in the United States, like I am, this was a significant period of time for our nation, because this is when the American Constitution was written. And we know that the first words of that American Constitution read, "We the people," not "we the powers that be," not "we the corporate, powers," "we the people." And so this is a huge theme of what this Pluto shifting into Aquarius is all about. It's about restoring the power to the people, but not just the people of the United States, to humanity, restoring power away from the Khazarian cabal, the satanic forces, and back to the people, humanity as a race on this planet. Huge theme for these next 2 decades. And we're just going to start to see what that might look like and what that might feel like over these next 2.5 months as Pluto moves through that 0-degree mark of Aquarius. Now, this is something to be aware of. Aquarius is ruled by the planet Uranus. Uranus has this energy of being like struck by a lightning bolt. Boom, out of the blue, something revolutionary happens. And so this first segue of Pluto into Aquarius, while it's only a 2.5-month period, and we know Pluto moves very, very slowly, because of this Uranus energy that is the Lord of Aquarius, even in that 2.5-month period, something fantastical that you may not expect to happen in terms of some kind of evidence that the power is being restored to the humanity, away from the cabal, away from the powers that be, and back to we the people, could potentially happen even in these next 2.5 months. So I encourage you to keep that idea that anything is possible and it can happen in a flash, in terms of how we as a humanity could be liberated from that dark force and from the matrix. If you hold that idea in your mind, and Aquarius, of course, is the higher mind. It's got that eagle eye perspective, not the forest and the tree perspective, that eagle eye perspective. We know through the quantum, which Aquarius energies are related to, that quantum field, the quantum entanglement, when we hold that idea of anything is possible, we're going to see some evidence within these next 2.5 months that this is starting to unfold. And it, of course, will continue to gain momentum as Pluto continues to move through Aquarius over the next 2 decades. You will see the evidence. You will see the manifestation of it, because we know that when we engage with the quantum field, what we focus our attention on must show up for us. And so I encourage you to look for anything in your life over these next 2.5 months that would be some kind of evidence to you that yes, Pluto is working to restore the power to humanity, restore power to the people. Now let's talk about Pluto's move through Aquarius. And I've done this several times in other videos that I've done related to Pluto, but let's focus again on what's going to happen here with Pluto's move in and out of Aquarius. First of all, here we are, 2023. This is the first steps, right? The first baby steps into these frequencies of Aquarius. And I've kind of coined this term for these 2 decades of Pluto moving through Aquarius as the rise of global consciousness. Aquarius is about the collective consciousness of humanity. And Pluto will stay in Aquarius until 2044. So you see, that's 21 years. It's, as I said, an average of 2 decades. Now, this is where we are today. Pluto has crossed the threshold into Aquarius and is at that 0-degree mark today, March 23rd. And it will stay at this 0-degree mark until June 11th. And as I said, that's approximately 2.5 months. And then after June 11th, what will happen is Pluto will start to go in its retrograde motion again. And when it does that, it's going to go back into the Capricorn energies that we've been experiencing Pluto in for the past approximately 2 decades, I think since 2008. And of course, more recently, since the beginning of this year, over these last degrees of Capricorn. And so for the rest of 2023, from June 12th onwards, Pluto will be back in Capricorn. And this is significant because Pluto as a frequency is all about what can it do to empower you. And the flip side of that is, okay, what do I need to move out of the way? Move out of your frequency, your field, move out of your reality to enable you to further expand and evolve. So those last degrees of Pluto moving over, those last degrees of Capricorn, is really all about getting rid of that patriarchal energy that we see manifesting through these relationships between corporations and the government, between mainstream media and the government, right? The abuse of their power that is a part of patriarchy. Everything related to patriarchy, any remnant energies that would be interfering with our ability to further expand and evolve over the rest of this year, from June 11th through the end of the year, and over some period next year, Pluto is bringing all of that to the surface to clear it out. Now, next year, 2024, January 20th, Pluto will move out of Capricorn back into Aquarius. And it's going to stay there for approximately 7.5 months until September 1st. And during that time frame, it's going to move out of the 0 degree of Aquarius, and it's going to move into the first 2 degrees of Aquarius. So it's venturing further and further into those Aquarian energies that have to do with liberation, radical revolution, innovation, higher consciousness, the quantum field, your multidimensional self, choosing the timelines that you want to experience, all kinds of things about Aquarius that allows us to experience greater and greater freedom. So we'll get to experience that over those 7.5 months. Something really spectacular I would expect to show up on the world stage. Aquarius is, because it's the collective consciousness of humanity, is the world stage, is very humanitarian and involves the world stage, communicating on the world stage, because as an air sign, we're dealing with thoughts, ideas, consciousness, communication. And so something big for humanity is going to happen during those 7.5 months. And then September 2nd next year, Pluto's going to retrograde again, go back into Capricorn. And it won't be until November 19th. So that's a very short period of time from September 2nd next year until November 18th of next year. Less than, well, a little bit more than 2 months. Okay, so maybe 2.5 months. That's the final time that Pluto will be going through those last degrees of Capricorn, clearing out any final remnant energies related to patriarchy that is interfering with humanity's ability to expand and evolve. So November 10th next year, Pluto will go back into Aquarius again. And through the end of the year, it's going to be revisiting those first degrees of Aquarius that it had in the early part of next year. And then in 2025, Pluto will continue to move forward over those first few degrees and will finally reach the 3rd degree of Aquarius. From this point forward, from November 19th of next year, Pluto is in Aquarius and it's staying in Aquarius, moving over those next 2 decades. So you see, this year with this taste, this 2.5 month taste of these Pluto and Aquarius energies, and next year with Pluto being in Aquarius, but only having about 2.5 months. I don't know if I said 2.5 years. I meant to say 2.5 months. Having about 2.5 months where we'll go back into Capricorn. This is a very pivotal time of transition. So just want to bring that into your awareness. And I'll keep coming back to this slide probably in future videos around what's happening with Pluto and this new paradigm of the rise of global consciousness as Pluto moves through Aquarius. Now, if you watch my Spotlight on Influencers series, you will be aware that I talk about Pluto as representing the soul and using Pluto in your chart as identifying not only your soul tribe, but also your soul mission. Well, now that Pluto is moving into Aquarius for the first time in 225 years, anybody born in these next 2.5 months while Pluto is in Aquarius, they're going to be the new members of this Aquarian soul tribe. And of course, more will join this soul tribe next year. This soul tribe, I've coined this phrase, is the liberating visionaries. Every soul that gets incarnated onto the planet while Pluto is in Aquarius is joining this soul tribe of the liberating visionaries. And as a tribe, a collective, they have a soul mission. And I have put together a little pamphlet. It's called Discover. Let me stop the share so that you can see this better. It's called Discover Your Soul Tribe's Mission. And I go through each astrological sign and discuss what the umbrella mission is for those tribes. And so this statement here I've taken from this pamphlet that I wrote last year. So these souls being born into Pluto and Aquarius, into this tribe, bring with them the ability to recognize unity in diversity. We know from the Khazarian Mafia, from the Cabal, the satanic forces, whatever you want to call them, they don't want us to be focused on unity and diversity. In fact, they divide us through diversity, divide us through race, divide us through gender, divide us through culture, divide us through finances, however much money we have, divide us through our educational levels, anything that they can do to divide and conquer, divide and conquer. That's what that patriarchal energy is all about. We're shifting away from that. All of that's going to be off the planet. And we're going to shift from divide and conquer to unity in diversity. Think about all of the kinds of flowers that God, Source, the Creator, has put on this planet. I mean, there must be tens of thousands of kinds of flowers on this planet. And now just take one of those flowers, the orchid. How many tens of thousands of kinds of orchids are there? And the orchids aren't fighting each over the fact that they're not a rose, or the fact that they're a yellow Roth or not a yellow Roth. You know, I mean, come on. It's the diversity that's rich and potent. And this is what this Pluto and Aquarius is bringing back to us. And so these souls will be able to recognize unity and diversity. And that will enable us as a humanity to become free from all of the mind control programming. And why am I saying mind control programming? Because Aquarius is an air sign. It has to do with the mind. It has to do with thoughts. It has to do with consciousness. And so all of the mind control programming that happens through patriarchy is we're going to become free from it. And so that, those mind control programs were used to prevent us as individuals and as humanity as a whole from being able to be in a more humanitarian, inclusive, and freedom-loving relationship with each other. So these souls are helping us to shift back to, you could say, the natural order of things. And so they are also dedicated to helping humanity then become a global community. And that's important because we are evolving towards becoming a galactic race, and we cannot step into the galactic community until we can show them that we can work together on our planet as a global community. So this is a really significant soul tribe that is now going to be birthing itself onto the planet. Now, what are some of the things that you might be able to experience as Pluto is moving through Aquarius over the next 2 decades? And these are some of the things. Remember, we are infinite, eternal beings. These frequencies, Pluto frequencies, Aquarius frequencies, as they come together, can manifest in an infinite number of ways. How I might experience the blending of their energies and how those energies may show up for me and through me could be very different from how they show up for you, your friends, your loved ones. But there are some big themes that those personal experiences can tie back to and relate to. So the first thing is that we're going to see how ourselves as a humanity and our planet as a result will be able to regenerate through higher levels of consciousness. And I have a note here that it's specifically through Christ consciousness. And I know this because I looked at the chart for where Pluto is in the sky today at that 0 degrees of Aquarius point. And I'm going to show you that chart later on in the slides, and you will see that both the cosmic Christ in the as above and Yeshua, which is the embodiment of Christ, which is the as below or so below, are very much being activated by aspects that Pluto at 0 degrees of Aquarius is creating in the sky today. And so, you know, what this does is it allows then for transformation to happen through this quantum entanglement that we're going to become more and more aware of and more engaged with. And in fact, even this mystery school concept of the as above, so below, was revealed to me just on Monday, spring equinox, when I was doing my interview with the founders of The Love Party in my season 3 premiere for Spotlight on Influencers, that this ancient concept of the as above, so below was their way of describing quantum entanglement. That was just revealed to me. If you didn't get to see that episode, the season 3 premiere of Spotlight on Influencers, I'll put a link below so that you can see it. You'll be blown away by it. And of course, a lot of these Aquarian energies are discussed in that conversation as well. The other thing that we're going to see is, again, transformation for humanity as a whole, transformation for our planet, Gaia. We're going to see transformation as our frequencies start to align more and more with the new Earth reality. And I am aware that there are people on the planet, and I am included in that group, that are already starting to have experiences, glimpses of that new Earth reality seep through and show up. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that Uranus, the Lord of Aquarius, has been moving through the sign of Taurus, which is all about physical embodiment. So it's been allowing for those that are aligned at the frequency level to start to see the manifestation of that. But more and more of humanity, as Pluto is moving through Aquarius, is going to have their souls start to align with that high frequency and allow the individual to, in their alignment, resetting their frequency set point to these higher frequencies, allow them to also have the glimpses of that new Earth reality and start to experience it more and more in their daily life. I mean, think about, we're talking about the next 2 decades, what kind of changes we're going to see for humanity and on the planet, and how we experience ourselves as embodiments of the divine, as embodiments of love, becoming more and more attuned to, calibrated to that new Earth reality. The next thing that we're going to be seeing is how we become empowered through liberating humanity. And this is a big deal, liberating the consciousness of humanity. All of those old programs that have been put out there, the whole problem, reaction, solution framework that the powers that be use to try to control humanity, and that they were very successful in. All of that stuff is going away so that we as a collective humanity are becoming liberated from those control mechanisms as they fall away. And so that will empower us. The other thing that will empower us is innovation in all areas of life. Most people think of innovation and revolutionary technologies in terms of free energy and all of the patents that have been squelched due to national security. That's going to be liberated. That squelching of those patents, that's going to go away. All of that technology, whether it's through the kind of vehicles we use, the kind of fuel and energy that we use, whether it's through how we're able to grow nutritious food or use new kinds of currency to trade with. Every aspect of life that humanity engages with, new ways of children being educated, on and on and on. Very revolutionary, very innovative ways. And so what I'm seeing now is when I was a little girl watching that cartoon, The Jetsons, and how far away their lifestyle with the flying cars and this, that, and the other seemed from where we were then in the 60s. But this is what we're getting ready to shift into. Some people call it the Star Trek era. I'm not a big Trekkie, that's okay. But I was a Jetsons fan, and it's kind of the same thing, right? Into that new revolutionary technology that's going to empower us and away from all of the ways that we've been held as slaves through having to pay for outrageous prices at the pump for our gas, outrageous prices for our food because the food's being transported based on gas, all of those kinds of things. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that's going to be unfolding over the next 2 decades. And we're just going to be given a glimpse of what that could possibly look like over the next 2.5 months. And because we're dealing with this consciousness, anything that you imagine can be. And so, anything is possible. That's the mantra for these next 2 decades. So here's the chart for today. And there's Pluto. Let me get my glasses on so I can look a little closer here. There's Pluto at that 0 degrees, 0 minutes point in Aquarius, the air sign. Now, the first thing that you see goes back to first thing I mentioned on the previous slide. Here's Osiris, and he's retrograde at 0 degrees of Libra. There is a trine here between Libra, also an air sign, Osiris representing the cosmic Christ in Libra, and Pluto here in Aquarius. And so remember that Libra is all about balance and fairness and is ruled by Venus. So, which is why in the judicial system, Lady Justice has the scales. They need to be fair and balanced. And, there are some mainstream media companies that have kind of co-opted that phrase and haven't been true to that ideal. But we see here Osiris retrograde. When you have any planetary energy retrograde, it's bringing your awareness and your attention into your inner realm. And so what's happening here is that the cosmic Christ in the as above, is waking up the individuals to the realization, the recognition of the Christ within. And we see it right here. Yeshua also retrograde. Yeshua representing the embodiment of Christ, standing right across the sky from the North Node in Taurus, that evolutionary GPS. Where are we evolving towards as a humanity? The North Node in Taurus is all about embodiment. Yeshua in Scorpio is all about delving into those deep places where the fear is being alchemized. Scorpio energies, Scorpio being ruled by Pluto, the Lord of Scorpio, those fear frequencies that are in the deep core pit of ourselves are being alchemized by our inner Christ consciousness into love. When we are not when the dark forces are no longer able to trigger us and keep us trapped through the frequency of fear, we're liberated. And so see how this is a part of this? The North Node in Taurus is telling us it is time. This is the time in the eternal no time, non-linear space, when all of those lower frequencies are being alchemized by the Christ consciousness within you, the Christ that you are, to bring them into that space of love. What's that space of love? Love, right, is known as the goddess Venus, the goddess of love, who rules the sign of Libra. So everything within us that is also standing in the way of continuing to evolve and expand is coming into these higher frequencies. And the cosmic Christ above and the cosmic Christ within, through this quantum entanglement, is facilitating this. And so the Christ consciousness is even further engaged in this process, because notice that where the cosmic Christ is at 0 degrees of Libra, it's standing right across the sky from 0 degrees of Aries. That's where the spring equinox point was. And from that 0 degrees of Aries to where the sun is now at 2.5 degrees, in between those places was where that new moon in Aries was. So all of that new birth, regeneration, energy, focus is completely tied into how the cosmic Christ, as a part of the divine plan, is helping humanity to liberate itself from all of those things that have shackled our minds and have kept us enslaved. And of course, the sun here is continuing to fuel that. And in Aries, Aries is all about self-love, fueling the self-love in ourselves that is able to bubble up now, because all of those lower frequencies that are fear-based are being alchemized into love. How can you love yourself when you're always steeped in those fear-based frequencies that are holding you down? Like I'm seeing like, how they talk about taking a cement swim or something like that. I don't know the exact phrase, but when somebody gets thrown into the ocean and they've got chains around their feet and it's attached to cement blocks, right? Pulling you down. All of that is going away, people. This is an exciting time. And so how else is the cosmic Christ serving to help humanity become free and liberated and be able to shift back into the beauty of unity and diversity? Well, we've got what we call a T-square here. And so these breakthroughs in consciousness also relate to the sacred masculine. And this goes back to what Pluto has been doing in Capricorn, getting rid of those patriarchal frequencies and all of those patriarchal constructs, manifested constructs, right? The central banking system is a construct that is patriarchal. It's got to go, and it is going to go. And everything around the medical community, the AMA and all of that stuff, it's a construct that has been controlled by patriarchy, going away. And so the sacred masculine, which was perverted by the satanic forces and made profane into patriarchy, right here at 29 degrees of Gemini, a mastery point. The idea that the patriarchal energy and the sacred masculine energy are two different things with two different kinds of power is now ready to take control of this mental realm so that this liberation can happen through the sacred masculine and the sacred feminine. And so this is really an exciting chart that's in the sky today. There's so much more in here that I could speak to. I just don't have time. I tried to pull out the really big stuff. So really super exciting times. All right. What I would encourage you to do is, because everything that's happening here in the sky above, hopefully you understand by now through quantum entanglement, is happening within you below. And so how are you being evolved by these frequencies, these cosmic luminaries that are doing this incredible dance? You've got to go back and look at your own chart and see where in your chart at these specific places, or where in your chart these luminary bodies might be making aspects to other places in your chart, are basically turning you on, right? Evolving and expanding you. So I really encourage you to look at that, because today especially is such a huge day with this paradigm shift. It's like taking the Titanic, slowing it down and turning it around. Okay, this is where we are. And so if you need help with that and would like to get a reading around how this paradigm shift is, you're being activated by this paradigm shift, I'm happy to schedule a reading with you. And you can do that here by contacting me at sophiamonalisa79@gmail.com. So I hope that this has been a really uplifting video for you, as maybe has sparked that flame of hope within you. So I encourage you, if you haven't already, to subscribe to my YouTube channel at the Roseville Mystery School. Please give this video a thumbs up so that it'll get out to more and more people, because this is good news. This is good news that humanity is ready to hear. And when you subscribe, if you want to click the bell there, you'll be notified when I put out new content. So I just want to thank you so much for sticking with me through this video. I hope it was meaningful to you, and there's more to come in terms of the 2023 path of love. Thank you so much.